Let's now look at the tense, mood, and voice of verbs. Tense relates to the time expressed by the verb. There are three main tenses: past for things that have already happened, present for things that are happening right now, and future for things that have not yet taken place. Each of these three tenses can be further modified by four aspects. These aspects are simple for recurring actions, continuous for ongoing actions at precise moments, perfect for completed past action leading to present events, and perfect continuous for actions that have been or will have been going on until now or then, but ended or will end. Tense can also be further modified by voice, which we will be covering later in this lecture. Your course resources contain a table that clearly shows these various tenses in relation to the verb keep. The mood of a verb can be declarative, imperative, interrogative, or subjunctive. The mood of a verb depends on whether it is a statement, a command, or a question. In the sentences, I like that cat, do you like that cat? We see two examples. I like that cat is declarative or indicative, and shows, suggests, or states that I am fond of that cat. The second sentence, do you like that cat, is interrogative, as I wish to determine your feelings on that particular cat. Be kind to that cat is a command, and therefore takes the imperative mood. Disregard imperative sentences at your peril. The conditional sentence, if I were that cat, I would think myself lucky, is in the subjunctive mood. The subjunctive mood is of interest because some grammarians regard it as antiquated, but many writers still use it. The subjunctive mood is used for things that might happen, could happen, should happen, or that I wish would happen. These can include conditional statements, suppositions, wishes, demands, commands, suggestions, proposals, and statements of necessity. Some examples of the subjunctive mood include, if only it were so, if I were you, long live the Queen. The subjunctive mood affects the form of the verb. For example, am or was become were, is becomes be, and are becomes be. Additionally, singular verbs lose their s and es endings. Let's take a look at some other examples. We recommend that the department reform its financial systems. It is imperative that the copywriter be able to. Voice is the property of a verb that tells whether the subject acts or is acted upon. A verb is in the active voice when the subject of the sentence is the doer or agent of the act. For example, I wrote a book, where I am the agent carrying out an action. A verb is in the passive voice when its subject is acted upon. The passive voice will always consist of a part of the verb to be. Am, is, was, are, were, been, or being, plus a past participle. If you think a verb is in the passive voice, look for a hidden actor. Often, the by agent, that is, who is actually performing the action, is not expressed. It might simply be understood or implied. If you can put by goblins after the verb, the sentence is passive. An example would be, the magic was woven by the grammar goblins. Also, check whether what you think is a passive verb can be converted straightforwardly into the active voice. Only verbs that can be used transitively, that is, take a direct object, can be converted to the passive. The impersonal passive is very common in the corporate world. Common sentences that you may be familiar with include, it was decided and it was agreed. Another example, it is felt that your proposal is not able to be funded. This particular sentence is a double passive. Another example of the double passive is this. Athletes who are found to have taken drugs will be dropped from the squad. This sentence does not explicitly state who discovers the athletes taking drugs or who drops them from the squad. The passive voice can be useful when you need to soften the tone of a message. For example, it has been decided that your report needs to be reworked and resubmitted, or when you don't know who the agent is. Passive voice can also be used to avoid taking direct responsibility for something. This is called the exonerative passive. Here is an excerpt from the book Aqua Alta by Donna Leon that demonstrates the exonerative passive. Do you know if Signor La Capra is living in the palazzo now? Yes, he is. In fact, he's called us in a few times to take care of details that were overlooked in the last weeks of work. Ah, Brunetti thought, the ever-useful passive voice. The details had been overlooked. Scatallon's workmen had not overlooked them. What a wondrous thing was language. The passive voice can be used to great effect, but it must be done as a deliberate choice. Do not make passive voice your default. Try to use active verbs as much as you can in your writing.